Welcome back to MMA Al Dente, the only YouTube channel that will never ask you to like, share, and subscribe. There's no way that's as clever as I think it is. But alright. Here to talk to you about Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson, which was, I can't say it was a good fight, but, on paper, a fourth round finish in the main event in a competitive fight that's awesome for a main event. But again, it was a weird fight, and it was competitive. I still don't know who won any of the rounds. Going into the fourth round, I bet on Tony. I had my life savings on Tony, which was like $235. And Nate Diaz was always getting his shit in. He was winning the boxing exchanges, I thought, clearly. His hands were superior. Of course, he's got he's a lot taller, or, he's taller anyway. And Tony Ferguson, he's got better movement. I thought he had better wrestling, but he was getting hurt inside, with the hands. Anytime he would come into Nate's range, Nate was making him pay. And Nate's got that, a little bit of that deceptive Diaz quality where, kind of in the sense that it's pop, 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 boom. He pours it on. He's able, he goes forward pretty much. It's always going back, going forward. And Nate seized the moment plenty of times, and I thought made every fight, every round competitive. And it's funny because before Nate, I feel like Nate fought himself into every round towards the end. But I thought Tony Ferguson was really leading the dance. And, he's a more versatile striker than Nate. And his leg kicks were the story of the fight. Nate Diaz took him like a champ, or I don't know if you'd call it a champ or whatever, when you get kicked and you walk away, lean up on the cage and like, give me a minute. No, I'm kidding. But really, we know you weren't kidding. Your leg was hurt. That's just whatever. We saw that same shit with Leon Edwards. Nate's all about the image, putting on a show and whatever, and his leg was killing him. I saw him take one leg kick, I think it was in round 3, where it looked like that was it. And then Nate started doing this waving, no, fuck that didn't hurt me. But I really thought for because he did it a few times, I thought after the second time he did it, he was saying, no, I don't want to fight. But, that was clear. He wasn't saying that. It's just, there were a lot of optics and horseshit and, gamesmanship. But still, it was a competitive fight, and Tony Ferguson wasn't able to get him out of there with leg kicks. It's not like Tony didn't see that his leg was compromised, and that was the, his biggest path to victory, even though Nate fucked up Tony's shin by checking a kick, and Tony was bleeding right away, which, let me just say here, I'm, repulsed by not very few things, probably more things than anybody gets repulsed by, but seeing a leg break, I'm dreading that like you wouldn't believe. I almost want to stop watching MMA when I think about it. I remember the last time Weidman threw that leg kick and broke it over Uriah Hall's check. Next up was Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade, and Valentina came out and started throwing leg kicks, and I was just like, stop, call the fight. So I'm dreading that, and I hate seeing any shin on shin. I hate even hearing the word shin on shin, but whatever. It was shin on shin that Nate checked and made Tony's leg bleed. But overall, Tony Ferguson was doing really well with the leg kicks. He was, maybe not. He didn't even win one round with them, but it was the biggest path to victory after those 4 rounds, aside from a guillotine choke, which would have to spring out of nowhere. But still, it was awesome the way it ended. Tony did go for a takedown, and Nate instantly locked up a guillotine. The Diaz brothers, that's some of their best takedown defense, as we saw with Conor and whatever, especially if it's a sloppy shot. They lock up that head. Also, Melvin Gillard got caught the same way. And Nate Diaz has a deadly guillotine, and he trapped Tony's body. It's like he just pinched his head long enough where Tony's posture broke and he kind of collapsed, and then Nate trapped the leg and just fucking, he's got that reach and that length, and that was it for Tony. Nate is an anaconda, especially with that guillotine choke. And I've got to be honest, no matter how the fight played out before then, whatever, I love seeing it. jiu-jitsu winning the fight, especially for these two guys. I want to see Tony or Nate get a submission. Tougher, I guess, a little tougher to imagine Tony Ferguson submitting Nate, but Nate Diaz, this is his second submission in the last 10 years, I think. Maybe over 10 years. Probably not over, but close. His submission victory over Conor McGregor came in 2016, and before that, I don't know what, whoever. But Nate Diaz, he had it all on the line here. Things did work out in his favor, of course, but that wasn't any horseshit. There weren't strings being pulled, certainly not on his behalf. Khamzat Chimaev dropped the ball, and Nate got a bit of a gift here in a fight against Tony Ferguson, which I don't want to make it sound like, it was a gift in that he was supposed to win. I picked him to lose, so did everyone else, generally, the public, because he was favored to lose. But Nate Diaz, he still had to fight and beat a former world champion and a guy who, on paper, is a better all-time lightweight than him. And he still had to fight him in a 5-round fight on very short notice and all the horse shit and whatever. They both did, but I'm praising Nate here. Nate went out on top here. This was a victory and a half. Again, maybe not the most exciting fight, but to get a submission victory in the 4th round of a 5-round fight and a very competitive fight, that's awesome for Nate Diaz. I didn't think his chances of walking away with a victory were great this weekend. I thought, if anything, he'd have to come away from it with a moral victory. And, of course, the opponent was changed and whatever. But I'm saying his weekend, his stock was not hurt at all, let alone very badly. And that's what he needed, because he's venturing out into promoting and whatever the fuck, but also promoting a fight with Jake Paul, I would think, pending results with Anderson Silva there. But Nate Diaz walks away the victor. And it wasn't like, yeah, fuck you, UFC, and whatever. You could tell that, like he said, it's a love-hate relationship. They both praised each other, Nate and Dana. And Nate gave him a nice shout-out, and everybody else, the UFC staff there, and in his post-fight interview. And that was very classy, and he will be back, I'm sure. I could see him winning or losing a fight to Jake Paul and whatever, and the UFC will always have him back. Because as difficulties as he is to deal with, he's a bona fide UFC star. And he's been in the company for 15 years. But anyway, this was a huge victory for Nate Diaz. Gigantic. Even legacy-wise. I know this is the zombie version of Tony Ferguson. He's been dead for some time now. But Tony Ferguson is a former interim champion, pretty much a former world champion, because everybody knows with the work he put in, he was good enough to be the champ, just kind of got fucked over. And I don't mean he would have beaten Khabib. I just mean you win 12 fights in the lightweight division, then whatever. You're golden in my book. But, very big win in perspective there. Nate's got victories over guys that were considered better than him. 2 former world champions in his last 2 victories, Anthony Pettis and Tony Ferguson. Pettis, people forget, ruled the division for some time, and he was absolutely, in my head at least, and I'm sure everybody else is, just a level above Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz is down here fighting these scrappers to try to get to this level, and that's where Anthony Pettis is, fighting champions. And Nate Diaz beat him soundly. And now he gets a big victory over Tony Ferguson, one of the kings of the division. And again, no matter what the story is, we all know the story. Tony has lost plenty of fights straight. He's on his way out. They're both 48, whatever the fuck. But Nate beat one of the kings. His last 3 wins are over, these big champions, legends in the division, Pettis, Conor, and Tony Ferguson. And I want to say his overall standing has improved with those victories. I know he lost to Masvidal and Conor and whatever else, but he really went out on a high note career-wise. And a lot of that, of course, is due to discriminant matchmaking or whatever, match accepting. He's only fought some of these really good guys here. He didn't have to fight whoever. Fucking, all these not no name, but lesser known lightweights that are just as good as everybody else, if not better. But, you know, Nate Diaz, I don't need to see him fight Beneil Dariush and whatever. I don't consider Nate somebody who, he's been a superstar since the Conor fight, pretty much. And he's been looking for those mega fights and whatever. He's not always in a position to get him because the belt is never really near him. He's never near the belt. But still, he's managed to headline pay-per-views without belts on the line against Conor McGregor twice, Jorge Masvidal, and Hamzat Chimaev and Tony Ferguson, depending on what you want to say there. As well as, I believe when he fought Leon Edwards, it was the co-main event, but still a 5-rounder. But anyway, he headlined 4 pay-per-views in his last, 5 or 6 fights. Yeah, the Conor fights, which were 6 years ago, were, in his last 5 fights. But, it can't be denied that he's a star, because it's not just like he outmaneuvered everybody. He's a better businessman. He put himself in a position to win a lot of money, and he held his ground, and you could argue he would have done better if he was fighting 3 times a year like everybody else. But again, 4 pay-per-views for a guy that wasn't in title contention, business-wise or whatever, that's very impressive. Nate had a very good career. Very good career. I'm going to speak like it's over, even though I don't think it is. And for him to get a submission was the perfect way to go out, because that's what he'll be remembered for. All these classic submissions, and he just got one more over a guy, Tony Ferguson, who hasn't been submitted since James Toney. That's right, the boxer tapped him out with a triangle choke. No, but a guy with the same name as the boxer choked him out on the regional circuit in one of his first fights. I've never seen the fight. Actually, I think I've seen the finish. But I'm always fascinated by that. Fights early on in great fighters' careers, when they lose, especially, if not have a close fight. I love those type of fights. I always wanted to see that one. But anyway, Tony Ferguson has tightened up his jiu-jitsu since then, become one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the lightweight division, in the sport altogether. But it wasn't enough for Nate Diaz. Nate was just better than him. So I got this one wrong, but it was a pleasant surprise. Nate Diaz coming out to Gimme Shelter, by the way. That was fucking awesome. I love that song. It's a badass song, and it's cool to see Nate go with the classic rock. But Nate Diaz goes out on a high note, and his next fight, no matter who it's against or whatever, it's going to be a big money fight. I want Anderson to beat Jake Paul. It goes without saying. And I'm not even sure, I can't really break that down thoroughly, but I know Jake Paul's got a chance. Absolutely, this isn't just some scrub. These guys are really good fighters. Jake Paul could beat Anderson and Nate Diaz for all I know. But Nate Diaz, no matter who he fights next, it'll be a big fight. Even if it is Anderson, but especially if it's Jake Paul. And I'm glad he's going to make a lot of money, because that guy does know how to promote himself. And he will put himself on a platter with these YouTubers and whatever. And I hope he walks away with millions of dollars. And then, if he's feeling it, he'll come back to the UFC, and he's not going to have to fight his way up or whatever. He's right back into the same spot he was in, where the UFC can use him to headline pay-per-views, especially if he beats Jake Paul, of course. But he'll be fighting high-profile fights. Tony Ferguson from here, I don't know. All of his losses were against very good fighters. This was the worst fighter he's lost to on this recent streak. He was finished. I think, he's still healthy, though. He didn't get knocked out or concussed in this fight, I want to say. And even though he took a good amount of shots, Tony Ferguson, he's still going to stick around, I think. It's not like he's going to get cut off of that, especially taking a fight on one day's notice and whatever, even if it benefited him, getting a main event of a pay-per-view and yada yada. But from here on out, he's got to pick and choose. I think he should fight whoever he wants to at whatever weight he wants, and have his eye on retirement. I don't think he should be moving up in weight to fight Li Jingliang or jump it up in weight to fight fucking whoever. Hamzat Chimaev at 195 or whatever he's got going on. He should be fighting smaller guys. Nate Diaz is a guy who is his size, but just, taller and longer and whatever. And Tony had trouble dealing with his range and his length. And I don't want to see him fight that fight against a guy like Li Jingliang, fucking Kevin Holland or someone. So, this is pretty much the end of Tony's career. I'm very sure I'm going to see him fight again. But still, I'm glad it worked out for him in the sense that he got to fight a very high-profile fight and got the main event another pay-per-view. The way he was acting after the fight was a little, I don't know, I felt like he was embarrassed. He had like 7 different defense mechanisms firing off at once. He was like hugging and laughing and smiling and picking Nate up and raising his hand and just happy to be here. And it's like, I've been there before. He just wanted to go inside and fucking kill himself. But he, whatever, he maintained the smile and whatever and got through it. But, no doubt about it that Tony Ferguson's bummed right now. Anyway, it was cool to see those guys fight each other, and neither one of them take an ass kicking like I was predicting 2 days ago. I was very sure both guys were going to take an ass kicking, and instead we got a competitive 4-round fight with a vintage finish for Nate Diaz. It was overall a successful main event. All right, again, please like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and I will see you guys at about 20 seconds. I'll give you 20 seconds. I'm going to make the video about Kevin Holland versus whoever. Hamzat Chimaev.